Welcome back to This Week in Big Sky Football. I'm Megan Robinson, joined now by Hero Sports' Sam Herder, an FCS analyst in front of the show. Sam, a lot to be determined this final weekend of the regular season. Big picture, Big Sky. How many teams do you anticipate making that final field of 24 in the playoffs?
Yeah, right now there are 5 teams that still have their playoff hopes alive, and 4 of them face off against each other. And Montana State and Montana, I mean, both of those teams are locks to make it into the playoffs, regardless of what happens on Saturday. Then you also have Sacramento State going to UC Davis. I think the winner there is for sure in, and then the loser, kind of depends on who loses that game. You kind of feel like a 7-win UC Davis team with a head-to-head win over Northern Arizona would have a better argument than a 7-win Sac State team with no ranked wins. But certainly if Sac State wins, then you're kind of looking at, 4 teams, in the playoffs when you factor in the Montana team, Sac State, and then, who that 4th team would be. Would it be between UC Davis, who only has 7 wins, or Northern Arizona, who could have 8 wins, or the committee could put all 5 teams, in this situation. But it seems like 4 is probably the most likely number right now.
You said it. Montana and Montana State are both locks for the playoffs. They're number 2 and 3 in the country, entering Saturday's Brawl of the Wild. However, a lot at stake, a Big Sky title on the line, and also potentially home field advantage through the semifinal round. What are the X factors in winning this game for both teams?
It just seems the home team just jumps on the away team, and then things just kind of avalanche because you're kind of up against it, you're on your heels. The crowd just feeds into it even more. So I think if you're Montana State, you kind of have to ride the waves because I expect it to be a tight ball game, but there's, especially against Montana, a team that seizes momentum so quickly, whether it's a turnover on defense or a sack or a tackle for loss on defense, or explosive special teams play, explosive offensive play. It seems like Montana can seize that momentum so quickly, especially with this year's team. And then you add in the home factor, that's going to play toward Montana in this one. And for the Cats, they kind of need to ride those waves. And for the Griz, I think they have to win in the trenches here. I think just on paper, what we've seen so far, Montana State has the better offensive line and defensive line. But being at home for Montana, that could be a great equalizer where you're kind of feeding off of that crowd. And if you're a B- level offensive line or defensive line, sometimes that home crowd can get you up to, an A level offensive line, just because you can raise your level of play when you're in a game of this magnitude.
All right, Sam, we alluded to it. 4 of the potential Big Sky schools vying for a playoff spot face off this week. First up, UC Davis and Sacramento State in the final Causeway Classic for the foreseeable future. Who do you take winning this game?
Yeah, I'm leaning UC Davis in this one. I know they're really beat up right now. The Davis is coming off of a really physical game as well, going to a Montana State, but I think they have ability to reload and kind of recalibrate this week, put a good game plan together. So to me, it just seems like Davis is a more complete team, and I think that'll carry them to a win.
Sam, 124th edition of the Brawl of the Wild. The home team has won in each of the last 5 meetings. Will Montana keep this streak alive, or will Montana State make it back-to-back Big Sky titles?
I feel like Montana State is the more complete team than Montana, and has certainly been the more consistent team. For Montana, I will say, like, when Montana gets going, like, I think they get going as good as anyone in the FCS. Their defense is flying around, and they can gash you in so many different ways. Ayat has been awesome. I think he's the best quarterback in the Big Sky. Gilman is one of the top, if not the best running backs in the FCS. In a game where there's going to be a lot of momentum swings, it seems like when Montana is riding their momentum at the highest, they're one of the very best teams in the FCS. And you couple that with a home team, I'm kind of leaning Montana right now to get this win.
Awesome, Sam. Well, thank you so much for your insight, and enjoy a great slate of Big Sky football this weekend. I do not envy the FCS playoff committee and the decisions they're going to have to make this weekend. Thank you so much for joining me all season long on This Week in Big Sky Football. Once again, I'm Megan Robinson. Enjoy the final Saturday of the regular season.